Hi, this is Jane with Green Biz. Today we are out in the tree grove, and we are specifically out with our apple trees. We're going to talk about pruning the apple trees. So, first thing you're going to need, some clippers. Second thing you're going to need, this is an alcohol swab. You don't have to necessarily do the alcohol swab, but you're going to need some type of utensil dipped in alcohol so that you can clean your pruners. All right, I'm going to take my alcohol swab. I'm going to clean my pruners. These are pretty sharp pruners, I know, because I've cut myself before. So do be careful when you're cleaning them. What you are doing when you wipe them off, you're removing debris, you're removing bacteria that could be on your pruners. You don't want that debris and that bacteria to get into your trees. Now, when you are doing fruit trees, for instance, these apple trees, I can clean the pruner one time and I can do this entire tree. But if I move to another tree, I will then need to wipe them off again. So you will want to wipe them off in between trees. Before you actually make any cuts, you want to assess what you need to trim. So I'm looking at my tree here. I know that there are suckers down below coming up from the root system. I also see some branches here that are kind of low. I'm going to trim those off. It will clean up the trunk and it will have my branching starting higher on the trunk, which is what I want for looks and of course for fruit. I don't want my apples dangling on the ground. I'm going to start by cutting the suckers that are here on this tree. When you cut a sucker or a branch that's very close to the tree, you want to make your cut as close to the tree as you can without actually going into the tree and damaging it. So my first cut, if I can do this, will be like that. I kind of clean it up a little bit. And then I'm just going to go around the tree and do the rest of the suckers. Once you have the very bottom suckers off, then you can start moving up the trunk. I'm going to be taking off these lower branches. And there's a tiny one over here. There's a bigger one here. I'm going to do just a few here along the side, like that. Now my trunk is, pretty much nice and clean. So I can start trimming now up on top. Before I start cutting on the branches, I want to look at the tree. I want to assess what does it look like and how do I want it to look. So there's a few things. First of all, you never want branches that are going to be crossing. So if you have branches that are crossing, you're going to want to get rid of at least one of those. You also don't want branches that are, for instance, going like this and then going back into the tree, like those 90-degree angles. You don't want those because that's going to just, it's not good for the tree, it's not good for the fruit, it's not good for looks. So when I look at this tree, now this is a fairly young tree, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that kind of those upper branches are all sort of about the same height. So I'm just going to kind of do a light trim on them to kind of even them off. Another thing, I will probably take off just a few of these little branches. When you do trimming on a tree, you have your branch and you've got your little buds that come out, that's where the leaves are going to come out. You want to make sure that when you do your cut, you're cutting so that you're cutting by an outside bud, not an inside bud. And as we get going on this video, you'll be able to see. So always kind of think you're going to want your branching to go out, not in. You're going to cut above the outside bud, not the inside bud. Watch. Since this is a very young tree, the branches are very pliable and I can actually pull the whole tree over. If you have a tree at home that is older, you may have to actually use a ladder to get up there to get the top branches. So what I'm going to start with this tree is I want these top branches just to kind of be a little bit more even. I'm going to just do a short little cut on each one of these. Again, I'm looking where my buds are, and I want to cut on an outside bud. So you can see that these are kind of about the same. And this one. So what I've done on this tree is I've just kind of made those branches even so that as they're coming out, it will be a nicely shaped tree. When you are doing pruning, you will look for things like, for instance, dead branches. You would prune those out. You would also look if there's a lot of, as I said, if your branches are going funny, get those out of there so that it cleans it up for the tree. You want your branching going like this, not, like this. It's the overall structure of the tree. It will also make the tree stronger. As this tree grows, I need those branches to be able to go out and not pushing against each other. You probably want to know when to do pruning. It is late winter right now. The trees are not really budding out quite yet. You can see where the buds are swelling, but they're not budded out. You don't want to do pruning, for instance, when they're starting to bud out. You want to do it before they have really come alive again in the spring, come out of dormancy. This is also a good time to just do an overall inspection of your tree and the ground underneath. If you didn't do your cleanup in the fall, it's a good time to get all those dead leaves and stuff cleaned up. You can do some weeding. You don't want to do fertilizing quite yet. It's just a little bit early, and if you fertilize too soon, that fertilizer is really just kind of washed away. It doesn't do any good. Wait until the tree is actively growing, so that'll be a few more weeks. When you do this cleanup will kind of depend on where you live. We are down here in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Our springs come a whole lot sooner than some of you people up north. This is Jane at GreenBiz. If you have any questions or comments, you can leave them in the comment section at the bottom of the video. Happy pruning. I hope you get lots of fruit off of your trees.